in. So I will kickstart the webinar. And if we go to the next slide, we're gonna start presenting you who are on this webinar. So maybe Zuzana and Amaury, a big welcome. Maybe Zuzana, you can kickstart with yourself to present yourself at first to the whole public first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. It is so great to see so many of you here. I hope that we have a very good interactive session and that once we finish, you will be ready to start your reporting. And it's really great to see you, so welcome. So my name is Zuzana. I am originally Slovak, but I currently live in the Netherlands. I'm a senior ESG facilitator here at Nexio. I joined the company about half a year ago. Among other things, I help our clients guiding them through their sustainability reporting journeys, including reviewing their annual reports and helping them write their new ones. I have more than 5 years of experience in corporate sustainability, ESG integration, and policy analysis. And I personally also have a background in human rights and social issues. So once again, welcome. Amaury, to you.
Thank you, Suzy. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Amaury. I'm from France, and I'm also based in the Netherlands. I've been working at Nexio for a year and a half now as ESG facilitator. My expertise at Nexio rely on sustainable procurement, and I support clients in creating their sustainability strategy. And this, of course, entailed policy, but also report writing. And for sure, it's a pleasure to host this webinar today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Zuzana and Amaury, for you both joining on this webinar on that. And I don't want to forget, obviously, see if we go to the next slide. Also, my colleague, Anya, maybe Anya, you can also just pull on your screen, your camera, just to present yourself fairly quickly to the team as well. That would be amazing.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Anya. I am the marketing lead at Nexio Projects. I will be here today to support you in the chat box. Also, if you have any questions, please refer to the Q&A box. There will be a 15-minute for Q&A at the end. So yeah, I'm here for support. If you need anything, give me a shout. Back to you, Mark.
Amazing. Thank you, Anya. And just to finish off, so myself, I'm Mark, CEO and co-founder of Nexio Projects, and also guiding you. Will potentially join in the Q&A, but here to really trigger more the interaction today. So I'm going to be the mediator today. So really guiding you through the process. To really start that process, we have that chat box that we were talking about before. And just to check in, and also exciting for Amaury, Anya, and Zuzana, just to see where are you all from. So if you can just check and go to the chat box and just write from where you're from, just to check if everything is working, then we can see that everything is set in stone and that we can kickstart. And I see all the different ones already coming in. I see Denmark, Portugal, Scotland, Italy, Mexico, UK, Spain, Madrid, Slovakia, even Zuzana, Indonesia. So I see everybody from Toyota HQ, even I see. So welcome to you, Atlanta. So I see that the system works. So I think that means that we're ready to go. So if we go to the next slide, I will showcase you from what we have on the planning for today. And looking at that, we have a couple of topics that we have on the planning. What is sustainability reporting at first? We're going to get you some updates on the standards. We're going to get you also back on the reporting frameworks that exist. As you can imagine, there are so many. So which ones are these key ones that are there that Amaury and Zuzana will get you through? We're going to get through the audience, and obviously in an important aspect, the materiality assessment. And then we end with some practicality, best practices, finishing off obviously with the Q&A. I think it's time to kickstart. And if I should be right, I need to give the word to you, Amaury, to kickstart the webinar.
Actually, it's me.
Absolutely. So Zuzana,
sorry, Amaury.
Back to you.
You'll hear from him in a moment. Thank you. Amazing. Thanks, Mark. So the big question, and I also think why everyone is here today, what exactly is sustainability reporting and why it's important? If I can go straight on to the next slide, please. So first of all, I would like to take a step back and have a look at how reporting fits into your sustainability strategy. What you see on the screen here is a very good representation of a solid sustainability management system. The key takeaway here is that the company should always have a clear sustainability vision, which you see in the middle here, translate it into a strategy that covers all of your entities. To translate your sustainability strategy into action, you should have a wide set of ESG policies, so environmental social governance policies, to ensure that it can be implemented into your day-to-day operations. And part of these policies, it is really important for every single company to set a clear objectives and targets, and also to select measurable KPIs. The next steps, as you can see, are the procedures. The procedures are measures that should lead you to obtaining the targets set in your policies. And with all of this in place, companies need to see if what they have implemented works, and if what you are making, if you are making a progress, or if any further improvements are needed. And this is where reporting really is key, because by means of reporting and monitoring, mainly on your KPIs, you can easily track your progress and therefore progress towards your overall sustainability vision. So those are the two arrows that you can see on the image. And through reporting, companies are able to see whether new measures are needed or if your targets and your policies need to be adjusted. And very importantly, it allows companies to communicate the progress to external and internal stakeholders. Last year, we actually hosted a webinar series about sustainability strategy and sustainability reporting. Both of these are available on demand through our knowledge center on our website, but maybe Anya can also share the links into the chat box so you can have a look at that later. So before diving into the details, it is important to distinguish between internal and external reportings. Internal reportings and external reportings are not two distinct actions, even though sometimes clients do think that these are not related. They're actually quite highly linked together, and they should very much be seen as complementary, which you will see in a second. So to start off with internal reporting, it is a tool to understand how effectively your company is achieving its sustainable objectives. This can be done through KPI dashboards, internal reports, or any other forms of communications to your internal stakeholders or amongst senior management. This is relevant more to day-to-day operations, and it is shared only within your company. It is relevant for all companies, and it can be used by companies who are at the beginning level of the sustainability journey. On the other hand, external reporting is a platform for communicating externally on sustainability performance and your impacts. This can be done through annual reports, sustainability reports, or communication on progress reports. This is where internal reporting is very important, because you take the input from your internal reporting and you use it to communicate it externally and share it publicly with all your stakeholders. It is more suited for companies that are mid-size to large size, and it is also more suited for companies that are already progressed on their sustainability journey. However, it can be done by the beginners as well, but the important thing to remember, and what we would actually recommend, is that every company starts with internal reporting, as that is really the first steps. Once you have the internal reporting in place and it is doing well, you can then move on to external reporting, as it makes the process a lot easier. Thank you. So why is it important to report on your sustainability efforts? There's many reasons, and we've tried here really highlighting the top ones. So first of all, it really helps you to keep a record. Through reporting, you can see the evolution over time, and it highlights both what has been accomplished and where further improvement is needed. It is also a great way to present your results and to communicate your progress with stakeholders. It also helps you to spot failures and successes, as monitoring your KPIs will help you to know if all your implemented actions, procedures, measures were successful or not. It can also assist you in taking decisions. So KPIs actually deliver exceptional insight into your company performance and what the decision has to be made to go forward. And it will also help you to look at potential risks and overcome them by taking, for example, corrective actions. And last but not least, it is a great tool to motivate your stakeholders. So transparency and honesty motivates your management, your employees, and it motivates them to really achieve the sustainable objectives set by the company. But it also motivates your external stakeholders to support your company. So for example, you can think of your investors or your consumers who are going to be coming back because they know that sustainability is embedded in your company DNA. The next slide is just some additional information on what I just explained, but you can have a look at this after the webinar once you're reading through the slides. So we can move on to the next one. So what is sustainability reporting at its core? We have a nice quote here from the Global Reporting Initiative that defines it as the practice of measuring, disclosing, and being accountable to internal and external stakeholders for organizational performance towards the goal of sustainable development. Put simply, it is really the action of reporting about your organization, environmental, social, and governance performance. On the right-hand side, you can see the different names. Some people call it sustainability reporting, others call it non-financial disclosure, or CSR and ESG reporting. These are all little different formulations, but essentially they are all the same concept and mean the same thing. What I would like to highlight here is really the benefits that sustainable reporting has for your company. First of all, and I think the one that is the most obvious, is really that it is a great way to share information about your sustainability efforts, both internally and externally. It really helps you to gain trust and improve relationships with your stakeholders, both internal and external ones, and it facilitates open communication. It also enhances reputation, it improves your brand loyalty by addressing your sustainability impacts. It improves the effectiveness of monitoring systems on sustainability performance. It promotes internal operational efficiency and accountability. It can help you gain access to capital through governance transparency. This is because, for example, investors can get a very good large picture of your organization and how it fits with their financial efforts. And quite importantly, also for today's webinar, it helps you to get ahead of regulations, some of which we're going to cover in a moment. As you may know, these are ever-changing, ever-evolving, and it's a very good way to keep track. Back to you.
All right, Zuzana, then we are back to, and this is back to the first poll that we have for you today. What are your 2022 goals with regards to sustainability reporting? So you're going to see the poll in 1 second in your screen. This means that you have the time to all vote on different options. Set up a KPI dashboard, publish a sustainability report, publish a UNGC report, incorporate the GRI standards, complete a materiality assessment, or carbon accounting. So let me just repeat. So we are obviously wondering with the whole team from what are these goals for 2022 that you have with regards to sustainability reporting. Obviously, this is the topic that you're thinking about. You need to make your budget. You're probably having the discussion on your new sustainability strategy and to incorporate reporting or not, or to potentially get higher in your maturity of reporting. So I see that the voting goes very fast at the moment, and I will obviously share the results in a second. You can probably hear the drum rolls in your ears right now. We are working on that. We have approximately 70% already voted. So if we can wait for a couple of seconds, okay, we're getting a kickstart as well here. Let me see, let me share the results. So we can see that we have almost a tie with setting up a KPI dashboard, publish the sustainability report, and we have carbon accounting. So that is great. And I see also, and this is obviously way more intense, the complete materiality assessment, the publish of a UNGC report, a little bit more on the lower level. And then we have, of course, incorporating the GRI standard, which is a hell of a job as well. So Susie and Amaury, we see what we have today here, and I'll give the word back to you. Back to you, Susie.
No, sorry, I was muted. Thank you. That's actually great to see that so many people are looking to really take the first step, setting the KPI dashboard. That's super great. So let's start with the update on standards. So as I mentioned before, reporting can really help you to get ahead of any standards and new legislations. And I would just like to take a moment now to walk you through some of the future reportings, the future legislations that are currently rolling out. So the first one is the Task Force on Climate-Related Disclosure. For our UK viewers today, this is very important, as reporting against the TCFD will be mandatory for large companies from April next year, so April 2022. Very quickly to summarize the TCFD, it consists of 3 parts. So the first parts are core recommendations that are centered around 4 themes: governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. In addition to these recommendations, the TCFD also recommends organizations to consider additional 7 principles for effective and highly quality disclosure. And lastly, organizations are also asked to take into consideration different climate-related scenarios, as these can enhance the resilience of their strategy. The good thing here is that when companies disclose clear and consistent, accurate information on the risks they face from climate change, stakeholders can actually make more informed and sustainable decision-making. So it's a very good framework to use. The next one on the list is the new Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. This is mostly going to be relevant for our EU viewers today, as the shortly CSRD, as it's a mouthful, is going to be replacing the current non-financial reporting directive that is currently in place. So the new CSRD is going to be applicable from 2024. So companies do have some time to get adjusted and get acquainted with it. The main idea behind the new directive is really to provide more verifiable, accessible, and comparable non-financial data, and also ensuring that it is aligned with other European Union non-financial and financial standards. So at the moment, this is not the case. And there's also going to be a sustainability reporting standards that the EU is going to publish next year that companies will have to use that when reporting against this directive. Some of the main highlights about this new directive is that the scope has changed from the previous directive, and now it has increased to also include all large companies in the EU. Also all companies listing on the European Stock Exchange, as well as all publicly listed small and medium-sized companies. And in addition, it will also include all subsidiaries of global non-EU firms, as well as companies with securities and EU regulated markets. And the general idea here is really just to increase the accountability of reporting. It should provide better comparability and trustworthiness. And it is also believed that it's going to actually reduce your reporting costs in the future, as it's a much more effective system. The next one is the International Sustainability Standards Board. So this was an initiative that was quite recently announced, and it is a joint effort between the International Financial Reporting Standards, the IFRS, the Value Reporting Foundation, and the Climate Disclosure Standards Board. Their goal is really to become the global standard setter for sustainability disclosure, specifically for the financial markets. And it is believed that the standards will facilitate compatibility with different jurisdictions' requirements. This is really positive news, as unification and standardization of frameworks will help companies with what to report on, and it will also help investors who are going to be reading this information. This is because with a standardized disclosure framework, investors are better placed to compare and evaluate companies. This specific initiative is going to come into force in June next year, June 2022. And we're actually quite eager to see what happens, as this is a really great initiative. And here you can see just some of the new developments that are in the work at the moment, along with some of the older ones. The important thing to notice on this particular slide is that, as you can see, there are so many different reporting practices that companies can or have to follow. And this depends on a number of factors, be it their industry, size, or even the audience that they are targeting. And on the screen now, you can just see the overview of some of these. Some of these are designed to be used at the international level. Some are used at the regulations, our national regulations, and really some are more specifically to help companies who are looking to communicate to a specific set of stakeholders. The important thing here to mention is that more and more investors and stakeholders are really seeking to find out about financial materiality, not only about financial materiality, but also about double materiality, which is the impact or the value that companies have to society. As you can see, the initiatives that are on the right side of the slide are better designed to help with that. With so many different frameworks to follow, I can imagine it's very difficult to keep up. It's also difficult for us. And this is why initiatives such as the ISSB, the one I just mentioned, the International Sustainability Standards Board, are so crucial. They really bring us a step closer towards consolidating all of this and making it easier for you to report. And also, in return, reporting will be more standard, transparent, and equal, which benefits the whole wide variety of stakeholders, not only your companies, your investors, your consumers, and your employees, everyone in the value chain.
All right, Susie, there we're back to a next poll. I thank you so much, obviously, for these insights. Before I start with the poll, I just want to quickly for everyone to remember that we have a Q&A box. I see a lot of questions coming in the chat box. So just to see also yourself, Tom, Rowan, Andrew, Doug, I see all your questions in the chat box. So please put them in the Q&A box, because there is where the questions that will be handled. So please maybe copy paste your question to the Q&A box so that we can really work on them during that session. So that would be amazing. So if for everyone there is a chat box, this is really more technical on the technicalities, if you have questions around the platform, and then you have really that Q&A box where you can put your questions. The first questions are in, so please remember on that. So on that note, we're going to go back to the next poll, which is really on which will apply to your organizations. And we have multiple options on that. So I'm going to activate the poll. There we are. So we have the ISSB, the TCFD, that also, of course, Zuzana, the EU taxonomy, the CSRD, SFDR, or maybe you're not quite sure yet which apply to your organization. That can also be a question from after the explanation of Zuzana. Maybe you're not quite sure, maybe due to the explanation it brings some enlightenment on which ones would apply to you. So it would be great to just see in the feeling of what kind of companies and organizations we have here at the moment. So please all fill in. You have, of course, multiple choices that you can choose here. So we're waiting a couple of more seconds. I see that the votes are going pretty fast, and obviously all standards that are absolutely important to you all, that will of course become applicable or are already applicable to you. So we'll wait for 5 more seconds. Let us look at the results. If we share the results, we see that we have an absolute more that for people that are maybe not quite sure yet, which is obviously that is where we're in, and that's probably doesn't surprise, and I will just ask the question to Amaury just in a second in the transition. But we obviously have others. Maybe also Susie, does it surprise you the answering of the poll?
No, it really doesn't. As I mentioned, it can be so overwhelming with all of these different frameworks, and I know that it even takes a lot of efforts for us to really comb through it all. So you're definitely not alone there. This is a very, very common thing to see.
Yeah, thanks. And from your side, Amaury, anything surprising here?
No, not surprising at all. Like definitely, those are also many framework or update that have been given quite recently, and there are many different frameworks, so that could be definitely overwhelming. But maybe to jump in and then to continue on a smooth transition, and then I'll present you some reporting framework, because as mentioned, there are many. If you remember the slide like Susie just showed before, so you may want to report, but you're unsure where to start. So of course we won't go on all the reporting framework, but we would like to focus on the most common one, because this is really essential that you select the reporting framework that fits to your preference, but also to your desired audience, to make sure that it's it really helps you, because choosing a reporting framework that fits you, it really makes the work more practical. It will really provide you with some guidance, and then it will also help like some comparability with other company. So you may already be familiar with this framework, but I'll just quickly go over them. The first one being the GRI, one of the world's most widely used standards for disclosing sustainability impact. So it really focuses on 4 key pillars, being universal, economic, social, and environmental. with 443 specific standards. So just to give you a figures, 73% of sustainability reports of the 250 world's largest company use the GRI standards in 2020. So that could be definitely a framework to consider, especially if you make a start. Especially if you look at the box on the left side, this is definitely for a wide audience. It can be integrated within your sustainability reports, and it can be used by all company, all organizations from various sectors. Those are really guidelines, so they will help you. They will bring some efficiency and some consistency in your reporting. Just to give maybe a time frame. So this should be done annually because, as I just mentioned, it would be part of your sustainability reports. And I would usually consider 3 months to really follow the entire process, especially if you have a materiality and an external verification. The second framework we wanted to show you is the United Nations Global Compact. So with this one, organization report on 10 guiding principles covering 4 key themes, being human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. So this is also considered for a wide set of audience, and then it can be, those are guidelines that you can integrate within your report. So it means that these guidelines, it's definitely a framework that is compatible or can complement, for example, the GRI or any other framework. And it's also used by many types of organizations from various sectors. A simple note, also, as you can see on the slide, is to do so, you will have to become a member of UNGC, so you need to send a commitment letter, and then within a year, you need to complete this annual communication on progress or integrate it in your annual reports. And then the third one we wanted to mention that is also widely used, but more specific, and I want to make it clear, indeed, it's not a reporting framework per se, as it's more, it goes with a separate questionnaire. Also, the scope is really on governance and environment. So it's a large focus on climate change, forest, and water security. So it's really to understand your environmental impact. And as you can see, the audience is more for investor or stakeholders. So definitely more for larger company. So I hope you have a better overview of the most common framework. Maybe on the side note as well, to complement what's the update that Suzy just mentioned, please note that if you need to align with the TCFD, so mainly in the UK, the CDP reporting is actually already aligning with it. And then the last initiative we also wanted to mention on the next slide is the Sustainable Development Goals, which are actually not a reporting framework neither, but definitely a framework that you should use to report on your sustainability efforts. It can also be integrated in your strategy and in your sustainability report, so it can complement also the other reporting framework you use. So it has been developed by the United Nations, and they really represent the effort of business to achieve those development goals. So they can also help you to define your objective, then your sub-targets and your KPIs. And you'll make sure that you also align with these development goals. So I think after having shown most of it, I also wanted to really emphasize that for reporting, external reporting, you don't have to really reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of framework that exist, but maybe choose the one that fits the best to you and then stick to it. And the question is always, how do I choose my framework? So the first one is definitely, you should ask yourself to take a step back and ask yourself, who is going to be my sustainability report for? Who is going to be the reader? So I'll come back to this question in the next slides. But then the second question is also to ask yourself, what is the material topic you want to focus in? So maybe thanks to a materiality analysis. And lastly, is it manageable in the longer term? meaning that do you have the internal resource to really manage, for example, the framework that you have selected. Of course, we also have ebook that we can definitely share with you. Would be great, Anya, if you can share it. Oh, already shared really fast. Thanks, Anya. So please have a look. Maybe it can give you more insight to really see what the framework fits best for your company. But then moving on to the audience, which, as I just mentioned, is the first question to ask yourself to find also the framework that fits yourself. And we'll start with a great map that actually show most of the audience or the usual audience of sustainability reports. And so the key idea of this slide is really that different stakeholders, so different audience, will require a different approach. A common mistake is really to forget about the audience and directly choose the framework or directly start working on this sustainability reports. So when you start planning your sustainability report, your annual report, really ask yourself, who is it for? Maybe to give a couple of examples, if you look on the left side of this chart, you can see that investor or business partner, sustainability professionals, they would be more looking for data and facts. So maybe more for ESG reporting, really focusing on facts, a lot of details, figures, where if you look on the right side, if you really aim to have a sustainability report that focus more on employees or potential talents, customers, then you should maybe have a bigger picture and have an overview of what you're doing in terms of sustainability, but also maybe what are your plans with a more high-level approach, digestible infographic. So really key idea on this one is know your audience, and once it's defined, you can definitely adapt your speech and to make sure you communicate well on your sustainability strategy. And to close up on the audience, we just wanted to share with you this recent study from the University of Vienna, so from 2021, which is actually who are the people reading your annual reports. And what is interesting is on the left chart, you can see that you have a large part of it comes from your employees, but also from the external stakeholders. So annual report are really read by plenty of stakeholders. And if you look on the right side, which topic are user interested in, you can see that financial performance remain, yes, the first topic that is looked at, but strategy and moreover sustainability is growing, the percentage is growing. So this is really a topic that interests all the stakeholders. All right, then moving on to materiality. If you remember the slide before showing, explaining what question you should ask yourself as a company to decide which framework you should select. The first one was the audience, and the second one was materiality. So in sustainability reporting, materiality is really the principle that determine which topic was sufficiently important for your company to report on them. So here is just a diagram or a figure that explain the process. The first one being, so on the top right corner, understand context and identify material topic. So what is key here is really to determine the scope of your assessment. So what we recommend here is to conduct maybe some research industry and look at the best practices, but also internal and external factors. It will really help you to identify what could be the relevant topic for you. So more concretely, with this step, you should come up with, of course, it's really variable, but I would say at least 100 topic on environmental and social aspect that could affect your organization. So this is a long list, but this is why then you have step 2, during which you will define your key stakeholders, and you should also, by using different channel, interview or open the communication with your stakeholders to actually know what is the most relevant. So based on your audience and your stakeholders, you could, for example, approach them with a survey. That could also be like interviews. But the objective is to narrow down this long list of topics and to see which one is the most relevant. To also try to be concrete in what I'm saying, I would say that you should come up at this stage with 20 to 30 topics to consider. And then the third step being combine and cluster results. So based on this stakeholder engagement that you just conducted, you can come back to this bigger picture and really start mapping the topic according to then the framework that you have choose to report on. And lastly, integrate and communicate and monitor. So finally, you use this material issue to guide like larger purpose. So once you have this really materiality analysis done, you can ensure that you will really have commitment to it and report on this. It's not an easy process, and it's really I say case by case. It really depends on your company, on the topic that matters to your company, to the industry. But I hope it provides you with some guidelines. We also wanted to share a slide on stakeholder engagement, because we tend to see that this is often a neglected step. However, it's really a key step. So it takes time, it takes effort, but we really recommend to open this conversation with the stakeholder, because it will really help you to have like this, to define or to discover your strong and weak points, meaning that it will give you another perspective, or for example, your weaknesses or your strengths from another point of view. Also, second point is the reputation. It can definitely have a positive impact on your company reputation, as it shows that you actually really care about this topic, you really care about their opinion, and that you open this communication. The third point is on the top right is the ongoing learning. And I really like this one because it's really a structure engagement that you build over time, and that you actually learn a lot for you as an organization, but you also share knowledge and raise awareness with your stakeholder. So I would say that it's a collaborative, ongoing learning. And lastly, risk identification. It helps you to identify problems, actually existing problems, but also sometimes problems before they occur, by having this conversation. Right, so then now that you know how stakeholder engagement is really important, we just wanted to give a more concrete, concrete example of materiality with two examples, taking the first example of company 8, freight transport by road, and a second company operating in the consulting services. So you can see the different material topics that have been identified. So obviously some topic or material for most companies, such as the employee health and safety. I can also think of energy and greenhouse gases emission. Those are really a hot topic, and most of the time of material for many companies, whatever the industry. But if you look, for example, at the responsible information management, so information security, this will definitely be a more material topic for consulting a company than for a transport a company. However, it's also important, so those are examples, but it's important to keep in mind that companies from the same sector can have like definitely different material topic, as it really depends on your stakeholders, what they find important. So it will really depend on what you find important and what your stakeholder find important. And lastly, so to wrap up this section on materiality, we just wanted to share with you some example on how you can communicate the results within your reports, with the example one of GRI standard, the second example from another company that is really well presented, and a second one developed by Nexio. So as you can see, there are like no right or wrong approach. It really depends on the method you choose, but also really depend on your audience, I would say, and the style of the reports that you want to build. Regarding more on the communication on sustainability, in general, please note that we'll have a webinar coming up at beginning of 2022.
All right, my time to go back. And thank you, Amaury, for presenting this block in a couple of minutes, but just explaining, you know, all the way from Materiality to the audience to the reporting frameworks, a big chunk to take in. So in order to digest before we go to the best practices that Susie is going to present, let's digest and let's go through another poll that we have prepared for you today. A poll that is all about publishing an annual report. Is this something that you're working on, obviously, for next year? Obviously, we're all looking and hopefully in one hand to give you, maybe inspiring you to do it, or maybe some of you already doing it. So 4 options. Yes, my organization will publish one. Yes, my organization is drafting one and we are looking for support, or no, but we would like to start with this. So you're still figuring it out. So that's what we saw, of course, in the poll before. Some of you are still figuring out which standards, which is absolutely logical, or of course, some of you can see that there is no value at the moment for that. So please obviously take a second to do that and to respond. Always very insightful to get your responses, to really see where you stand and where our audience is going. This is also, like Amaury said, we also need to see on where our audience is going. So I see that we're reaching the limit. So let me share in a second the results. All right, I'm ending the poll. So if I'm looking at the results, Zuzana and Amaury and Anya, we're seeing that the majority is actually going to publish one. So that it is very exciting to see that we have this time a majority that's actually going to publish a sustainability report. So it's doing great from year to year. We're doing this webinar, we're seeing it evolving. So that's really great. And we see that still some are still hesitant, but want to start doing this. So there's also a lot of ambition. So that's very exciting. Let me see, maybe Amaury, some first thoughts on this poll from your side.
No, I think as you mentioned, it's great to see that most of organizations that are here today want to publish one, and also, yeah, this one that no, but we would like to start. We really hope that with today's webinar, we have been inspiring you on publishing it one, and for sure we can definitely also support you on this one if needed.
And I think this is a perfect bridge to use, Zuzana, to see in order to get this first sustainability report, or for the ones that are going through that sustainability report, and as a global, what are these best practices? So I think, Susie, it's back to you to get us insight on that one.
Thank you. I have to say, though, I am surprised that there were some people who don't see the value in the reporting. I will hope that by the time we finish this webinar, we're going to turn those 3% around.
Let's try this.
Yes. Just to finish off, some best practice and tips to help you write the best report possible. I know that we covered a lot of grounds, and some of these topics that we discussed might be a little bit abstract. Know that you're not alone. Most of our clients are always looking for some answers, always worried about some things. So it's really good just to know where to start and what you're really looking for. And I would like to highlight some 3 key things to really keep in your mind. So when starting the reporting, you really have to make sure that you're clear on the message that you want to put across. So this is why the audience is so important. And as we just heard, there are many different styles of reporting, and these depend on your sector, size, audience. But these 3 things that you see on the screen are really things that you should follow in all cases. So first of all, make sure that you're aspirational and action-oriented. You should really find a balance between your intentions and what is achievable for you as a company, and what targets you can really set for yourselves. So for example, if you want to focus on reducing energy consumption, it's important to set an achievable target to do so, and then report on this progress rather than setting a target that you know that you would never be able to do, but it looks pretty. Second thing is be data-driven. You should identify where you are making a progress in a reliable way. So having and sharing the data to support your claims is quite essential, as it is something tangible for the reader. And it also helps you to clearly identify any improvement areas that you might be looking at. And thirdly, really do try to aim to communicate transparently and clearly. This means reporting both on your current efforts and on your progresses, as well as improvement areas and any challenges that you have faced during the reporting period. It really ensures accountability, and it brings your company closer to the reader. And with that, it builds this kind of a trust between you and the stakeholder. So I do hope that after this webinar, as I mentioned, things are a little bit clearer on how and why to report, why it's important. But nevertheless, you might still have some questions, as do so many of our other clients. So we actually took out 4 of the most common ones that we hear, and I'd like to highlight those. So first of all, we often get a question, what exactly should I report on? And I'm going to be reiterating Amaury again, but he did mention that this is why materiality analysis is so important. Through the analysis, you can really identify what the most material topics are to your company and to your stakeholders, and also identify the things that are most important to and more interesting for your stakeholders to read. You can then report on the status and the achievements and future plan related to these, and this is really your anchor. This is the main part of your report. Maybe you're thinking that that you only would like to focus, or that your company only focuses on financial reporting. That's fine. This is actually a really great opportunity to show the link between your sustainability strategy and your financials. So by identifying and defining the potential means of economic benefit, you're actually ensuring that investors understand and really see the importance of integrating sustainability into your company DNA. And this will in turn make them interested in your report. Perhaps you're still worried that no one is going to read your report. And this is why, as Amaury mentioned, audience, choose your audience, know who your audience is, directed at the reader. And once you know who your audience is, actually deciding on the content and on the way you're going to write the report, design the report is going to be much easier, and you can really ensure that the message resonates with the reader. And lastly, you might be worried about how to ensure credibility of your report. A really great start is to choose the right framework, ideally one that is widely recognized. So some of the ones we mentioned, GRI, UNGC, put your sustainable development goals in there. Really do not hesitate to ask for support, and make sure you're following the guidelines accordingly. There's plenty guidelines online to really help you to get the best results possible, especially if you go with the widely recognized ones. And a more advanced step would be to make sure that your report is externally verified by a third party. You can do this by going to big management consultancies, but also when it comes to insurance, we found that environmental consultants can enhance the credibility of reported information. So I hope that this puts a little bit of rest to your mind. I understand that starting the reporting can be very daunting, and it can be very time consuming, but it really is a rewarding task to complete. And it really does bring value to your organization. And on that note, I will give the word to Mark, who can provide a bit more information on how we can support you on this journey.
Yeah, so this is always me trying before we get to that Q&A. So just 1 second on the Q&A, you have that Q&A box. So if you see questions that you like, please upvote them now, because the question that will have the highest upvotes will be handled first. So please, I want to trigger you, open the Q&A box. You see little thumbs up. The more thumbs ups you do, the faster we're going to respond to that question, and in the time that we still have. So looking at the time, let me see, just recapping, obviously, where we can support you. This is obviously my moment to just get you on to speed where we are working on. Could be the materiality assessment that was handled and also mentioned by Amaury, the GUI, the CDP report, the UNGC report, the UN Global Compact CUP report that you need to do. Obviously, potentially you sent your letter and then you need to do it. Please don't forget you need to do it in 1 year. You have your annual ESG or your annual sustainability report that you need to do. We have there a writing service, and we have even a review service of your report before you even publish it. Then we have the communication side of things, and let's not forget also the carbon accounting, where we have a whole climate team led by our colleague Cesar, who is there to support you on measuring your scope 1 and 2 and 3 emissions, reduction strategies, CDP reports, name it, and we can support you. I think this was short and sweet, which brings me to a last poll before we go to the other one, which is also the poll that we try to do, and I will keep it short. Is really, some of you mentioned also in the previous poll that you need some support. So this is for me the opportunity to also ask you, where does that support is needed? So please click it on. If you click obviously there on, we'll just contact you to just book a quick meeting to just see if we can support you, we can help you, then we can have a meeting. So potentially my colleague Robert and Monica will contact you on that hand, just to have a quick chat from how we can support you. All these things obviously very important for the next year, and even maybe with deadlines for this year. So please click it on, then automatically we'll contact you for within the week. So thank you all for responding to this, and hopefully through this we can help you towards your next step in reporting on that. So thank you so much. I see that most of the support will be on the sustainability report writing. So there we got at least, Zuzana, a lot of aspirations. So that's great. And I see some discussion in the chat going. But, let me spare all these comments from my side, because I see that there are many questions on that hand. And hopefully a lot of people upvoted the questions. You see here in the meantime, always on the backhand, 2 webinar slides, 2 webinars that you can do. And you can, with a QR code in the meantime that we answer to the questions, register to it, a webinar like this. So let me kickstart towards the first question, and I will first on that hand refer to you, Amaury, and please obviously let us know if we have to push it to someone else. At the moment, we have a first question from, and sorry, I'll possibly name some names very wrongly, but it's Ilonoka. So on that one, is there already a draft of sustainability reporting standards available to prepare for the CSRD? Is this something that is there, Amaury, or tell us more about it?
If I may, Amaury, jump in.
Absolutely, Zuzana.
Yeah. Sorry, I've recently done some big research on this, so I feel a little bit, I probably have a bit more information. So this will, at the moment, it's still being drafted, I believe, by the Commission. So maybe there are some drafts on the internet, but it's definitely not something definite. And the first proper standard will be available at the end of next year, so at the end of 2022. However, what has already been decided by EU is that it will be very linked and aligned with both GRI and SASB. So you cannot go wrong if you have your report against the GRI.
All right, super, Zuzana, thank you so much for that. Then we have a next question from Olivia. Do you have an example you can share of a good internal dashboard? I'm starting to make something concise but meaningful, but great to see ideas.
This is, yeah, if I may jump in, yeah, this is definitely something we have and we can support you with. Of course, there are some standardized dashboard, but this dashboard should really also reflect your company, your industry, what do you want to monitor. But this is something for sure we can support. I'd be happy to open a discussion to really see how you work and what is your strategy, what is you should monitor. But this is something, yeah, we are familiar with this internal KPI dashboard.
Super, thanks, Amaury. And hope your question is answered, Olivia. Then we have Netwin. Corporate sustainability is going to change organizational culture a bit. Do you have suggestions on how to implement it gradually within the company? And already says thank you on advance for that.
Yeah, I can take on that one. So I'm assuming you're talking really about embedding sustainability into your company rather than discussing reporting. How to implement it gradually, I think that is a good keyword that you use there, do it gradually. A lot of companies tend to try to do everything at once. It can get a little bit overwhelming. So really start a bit slower, start appointing maybe someone who will be in charge, have an ambassador or a manager or a board member who will tackle sustainability as their topic. And then they can gradually start looking at what is material for you, what are your next steps you would like to do, and start building a first step sustainability strategy. Speak to your stakeholders, speak to your employees, really do it gradually, build it up rather than trying to dive in straight into a big annual report because it can get a little bit overwhelming. I hope that this answered this. Some questions are very big.
Yeah, no, of course. These are obviously bigger subjects, right? This is not something that we can just answer in one sentence. So net witness is obviously a bigger one to tackle. So please don't hesitate, for extra discussion to contact us and to have a deeper conversation on this one, because of obviously change of culture is not something that is just done from one week to the other, as we all know. Moving to the next one, we have Rowan, who has a question on that he would like to start. I would like to start my career in sustainability area as an analyst. In your opinion, which kind of prerequisites, knowledge, and software will be required to work in this area? So, what would be the kickstart questions on that one for Rowan? Maybe Amaury, you can go for it. Or Zuzana, yeah.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. If we really focus on indeed the software you use, of course, it really depends also on what type of CSR topic you'll be focusing on. But indeed, also the back office for sure. A lot of risk assessment, materiality. So Excel will be your friend. But I also want to highlight that if you're more focusing on the environmental side, maybe any other LCA life cycle assessment tool could be definitely useful on this one. I don't know if you can think of any other software, Susie, of Mark. Of course, maybe put a project management software, but it may not be that related with CSR itself. I hope it answered your question, and hopefully you'll join Nexio in a bit.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. So looking at another one, I think for comparability, it is important to use the same standard each year you're reporting and not changing from one to the other every single year. What is considered the best standard for the US? Is there a best standard for the US that you would think of to report?
That's a very good question. I think the standards usually come depending on the sector you are in rather than on the country that you are in, and really on who your stakeholders are. So I think in the US at the moment, if anyone here is in the US and knows better than me, feel free to let us know. But I think at the moment, financial reporting is still the most prominent one. So I would actually dare to say that that a sustainability reporting doesn't really have a standard there and would much more depend on the sector you are in. However, I do agree with the first part of the question that keeping to one and repeating that and building on the one that you have built is a really good thing. Of course, if you're unsure which framework to use, you can try one year. If this was a complete failure, you're not happy with it, you can always try a different framework next year. You do not have your hands locked just because you started with GRI. However, it is a learning in progress. It's a process that takes some time. So be patient with yourself, try it 1 year, and yeah, you can only build on that.
Yeah, super. Thank you, Zuzana. So we have another question, which is more related to the CSRD. So I'm trying to combine 4 questions, so bear with me on this one. So it's a couple of questions that resonate. I'm going to mention them 4, and you will see how combined they actually are. And it's really about how you, on one hand, work with the due diligence legislation, interact with the CSRD. On the other hand, is the CSRD also applicable only for the EU, but also for US and international too? And in other words, we have the UK. So is also CSRD included for UK, or is it only for the EU? And do we need to also do CSRD and TCFD? So a bit of a combination. If I need to recap, please let me know, but I'm trying to bundle, because we are short in time, to bundle a couple of questions. And the bigger question is, CSRD, is this only something for the EU, or is this also something for the US on an international level? Yes and no. That will be the first one.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think many people can resonate here when I say that EU sometimes makes things that are a little bit complex and no one knows what to do. And actually, so the new CSRD is really going to try to integrate all of this and to consolidate it much better. So there were loads of different frameworks that were not compatible with each other, and they will be compatible with each other now, or hopefully a little bit closer. So to the first question, whether it's going to be interacted with the due diligence, it should be, yes. It should encounter all of these things within that. Whether on the second part of the question of who it actually applies to, so it is, of course, it's an EU directive, so it does apply to EU companies. However, if you are a US company that does have subsidiaries in the, if you're a non-EU firm with subsidiaries, you might have to report against that. And also if you're a company, if you have any securities on the EU markets, you will also have to report against that. I'm sure that once the standards come out next year, there's going to be much more clarity on that. However, if you, I think the overarching answer here is that if you do have any operations in the EU, you will have to report against the new CSRD. And on the how it relates to the TCFD, I don't exactly remember how the question was phrased, but if you, again, if you're a UK company, yes, you will have to report against the TCFD. If you have any entities in the EU, yes, you will have to do both. So it might be a little bit of a muddle at the beginning, but hopefully they are quite aligned. And yeah, if you choose a good recognized framework like a GRI, you're very likely going to be quite covered for both of those.
Thank you, Susie. Then I get another question from Guilherme. How does the EcoVadis assessment and rating help with sustainability reporting? Would the rating facilitate reporting?
So could you answer? Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely.
I don't see it in front of me.
How does the EcoVadis assessment and rating help with sustainability reporting? Would the rating facilitate reporting as a whole?
Maybe if I take this one, I would say that definitely you can do a sustainability report without EcoVadis. However, so I wouldn't do EcoVadis really to help you to do this sustainability report. However, if you're pushed by your clients to do this this EcoVadis assessment, once you get assessed, you definitely get a scorecard, which gives you some result on how you are performing on policy action and also reporting. So I would say that this already helps you have this is a good exercise to have a good understanding on how you're doing on this topic. So I would say that yes, it could help you, but this is not necessary, or you can definitely conduct a sustainability report without being assessed on EcoVadis.
Thank you, Amaury. Super. All right, let me see. We have 4 minutes left because we obviously took a little bit more of time. So let me choose wisely what we can do. I think these ones we already took. There was a more. Oh yeah. I have here another question. This is not really a question. If you see which framework is the most broad for a very wide stakeholder / audience in your perception?
If I understand it correctly, which one is the best one for all stakeholders if you really want to target a wide set of stakeholders?
Yeah, I would say that's the question.
Yeah, so it would definitely be the ones that we have mentioned, namely the GRI. It really, it's a very intuitive framework to use. It is dependent on your material topics, on your sector. So it's fairly adaptable. Also, UNGC is a very easy one. It's not really a sustainability report. It's really reporting against the principles of the UNGC. So it's a very nice, clear guideline of how you can really report on your sustainability efforts. And yeah, these two, I would usually stick to these two. And if you can also remember that you do not have to report based on a framework. You can really just have a sustainability report where you just communicate to your stakeholders your progress, your efforts, and you can just take the different frameworks and look at them as best practice and take what you like from them. So yeah, just remember, you do not have to do it according to a specific framework. You really can pick and choose a little bit to make a report that fits you or your company.
Thanks, Zuzana. Then we have another question. What is the time frame from doing a materiality assessment to publishing a report? What would be your view on that, or your experience, I would even say?
Yeah, I would say at least 2 to 3 months, like to really conduct the material assessment. And of course, it's like really depend on the size of your company, and yeah, also the type of stakeholder you want to engage with. As you can imagine, like sending surveys would be more efficient than conducting interviews with different stakeholders. So yeah, I would say they really depend on the type of stakeholder you want to engage with within this materiality analysis, but also, yeah, the size of your company and so on.
If I may add very quickly to that, I would also very much recommend for companies to start this process much earlier before you want to publish or write your report. It can be quite a lengthy process. And once you identify your material topics, they should then be embedded back into your strategy. You should then check if you are reporting, if you do have the relevant KPIs, do you even have this information that stakeholders are asking for? So best practice would really be you publish your report and the next day you start the process all over again so that you're ready for the next year.
Superb. This is me saying that we reached the end of this webinar, and let me take the opportunity to thank you both, Amaury and Zuzana, for joining and putting your expertise here in this webinar to all these people. And I obviously want to thank the audience here today for participating, sticking with us today to get you fueled and nurtured with new, hopefully, insights. Like Zuzana and Amaury, I hope we inspired you to start working on your reporting. If you have any questions, please let us know. You can always send an email personally to us, to mark@nexioprojects.com, if you like, at any moment, to really help you. For the ones who ticked on the poll, yes, we're going to get back to you ASAP in the next coming 4 days to get back to you with a response, to really plan a meeting with you, or at least get some questions answered. And obviously the questions that weren't answered, if you really have any questions, please feel free to send them to us. We are always happy with Zuzana and Amaury to get on a call just to get our commentaries, feedback, but also our visions aligned on that one. So please feel free to do so. This is me closing off on the back end. I also want to thank you, Anya, for moderating also on the back end, everything. This went absolutely smoothly, and there you are. So thank you very much for that. And on behalf of the whole Nexio Projects team, thank you for joining. I wish you a very pleasant either morning, afternoon, or evening. I see the darkness already started from here in Rotterdam. So thank you all so much. And Zuzana, Amaury, thank you again for sharing your expertise. On behalf of all of us, have a great one. Thank you, and see you to the next webinar.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.